Hi there, I'm Nick-Nack, and it's time for the preview for the RPGs on Kickstarter for February 2016. The February 2016 is clearly dominated by supplements for D&D 5th edition, but there are a lot of other interesting things too. So as usual, let's start with the systems that are on Kickstarter, and then let's work our way forward. The first thing to note is that Mind Eyes Theatre is trying to release another of their live-action role-playing rule sets, this time for Werewolf the Apocalypse. And the Mind Eyes Theatre idea is basically use rock, paper, scissors to play live role-playing games instead of using dice. And the project is currently already funded completely, but there is still a month left, so a lot of opportunities to get more of the reward tiers that they have prepared. Another new system is Starguild Space Opera Noir Tabletop, which, as the name implies, is about space opera, so it's more about intrigue than about shooting lasers. And although I have to say that the graphics don't really look that great yet, so the layout needs a little bit of improvement, the general idea of working on space RPG is appreciated, and I still think that there isn't that many good space RPGs out there, so I have high hopes for this one. A completely different setting is Mysteries of the Yōkai, which is inspired by Japanese folklore, which in essence means Eastern medieval anime, like Inuyasha and stuff, which in of itself sounds very cool. Up to this point I used mostly Big Eyes Small Mouth to play these kinds of RPGs, but this sounds like it could be even better suited. Based on the illustrations, I think that the graphics quality will also be quite okay, so I'm looking forward to see how this goes. The next one on our list is Tavern Tales. Tavern Tales is a fantasy RPG that tries to focus on storytelling and action, and based on what I've seen from the rules, I've got the feeling that it's very closely related to Dungeon World. So if you like Dungeon World and you like to see a new twist on this kind of mechanics, definitely have a look at Tavern Tales. For the first supplement, we are not at D&D yet. We are looking at the Burning Wheel and the Burning Wheel Codex, which basically is a supplement with more material of the same, with more life path, magic, and rules commentary. So if you like Burning Wheels, have a look. First supplement for D&D 5th edition is the 5th edition Creature Decks, which is a collection of creatures. Here's an example, the Thunderbird, including all the rules you need and all the stats you need. And in total, there is more than 50 cards which all contain these creatures. And I'm not completely sure. It says 5 decks of 50 plus cards. I haven't yet figured out if it's 50 cards each. I would currently assume it's 50 cards in total. Also, 5th edition D&D Familiars, Monstrous, Companions, Steeds, and more. It's a rule set to work with Familiars and Steeds and Companions, like the Paladin's Mount. And if you like to get more rules on your mounts, have a look. One thing that is not completely in the supplement category, but starts to fade over to the modules, is the Dungeons on Demand Volume 3. The last volume, Volume 2, was released in the summer of 2015, last year. I've covered it there, and it was quite successful, so they're trying to do it again. And as you can see, they have a goal of $750, and they have $13,000 yet, so I'm pretty sure this gets funded. You only have some days left to get there, so if you're watching this video a little late, but then maybe you won't be able to back it, but most likely that you'll be able to get the content of this anyway from their homepage. And basically, it's maps and stats and information on a lot of different dungeons that you can use in your adventures. Next on our list are new settings for existing systems. First of all, there's Distant Realms, a guide to the land of Leviathan, which is more or less a classic fantasy setting, but has a very interesting twist where you can combine the fantasy setting with the existing present world, and via portals, for example, have elves go to real-time London, or have a military squad try to fight their way through a bunch of orcs. If you're more into really classical fantasy, then have a look at Deadlands, which is a fantasy RPG setting for 5th edition or Pathfinder, and which is almost done. So if you want to have a look at that, be quick. It's completely funded at the moment, so there are still opportunities to get more stretch goals. Then there's Alterkine Planetary Survey RPG Pathfinder rule set, which is where you can use the Pathfinder rules to play in a science fiction setting. So there is a lot of stats for different alien races and planets. Another sci-fi setting is High Space, which is for the Savage Worlds rules, and where actually there has already been a setting, and this is more of a relaunch and an update. Now, Olympus Inc., an urban fantasy setting, is a little bit different. It's urban fantasy, meaning it's similar to World of Darkness. It's set in current times, but with gods walking the earth, and everyone plays some godlike figure. The twist is that Gaia, who is like the highest of all gods and titans and stuff and earth, and I'm not completely into this mythology thing, but it's like the boss prohibits any god from using their magic when any human can see them. So you need to use your forces in a way that it is disguised from the others' use. Next, we're looking at some modules. The first one is the Folio number 7 Deadlands edition, which is a module for Hell on Earth Reloaded. And if you don't know Hell on Earth is a setting set in the future. It's a little bit Mad Max style, where it's Western future meets horror and creatures from outer space. So if you're into that kind of things, have a look at Deadlands Hell on Earth and have a look at this module. Next one is Fate More from Bits Books, a collection of different settings. The settings are Fate of the Flying Temple, which can be run with kids because it's non-violent and it's more like, I would say, like Peter Pan and other like Disney fantasy movies. Then there's Venture City, which is it plays in the future, and you have the possibility to get superpowers, but the superpowers are controlled by big corporations. So it's like Shadowrun meets Marvel. And there are two more that have already been included. Atomic Robo RPG Majestic 12, where you play robotic spies, and Young Centurions, which is, the way I understand it, a lot like these children sets about children detectives that you can that you might have heard in your childhood. At least here in Germany, a lot of us did. So if you're interested in that kind of adventure, have a look. Then there's a first edition adventure module, A Forgotten Evil. As the name implies, it's old school. It has old school kind of graphics, and it's old school kind of maps, and so basically just dungeon crawling at its best. Then there's the World of Asatania Epic RPG Adventures for 5th edition, a module for 5th edition with a lot of nice graphics, as far as I can tell from the Kickstarter. And based on what I hear, based on what I've read, I think that it's very, very basic, simple fantasy stuff. So if that's what you're into, then this might be very well for you. Next is the Silver Isle campaign, which is a longer campaign, also usable for 5th edition and Pathfinder, and it uses a lot of graphics and maps and stuff, but also I think it's just another basic campaign. So if you need another campaign, have a look at this one. Now looking at supplements and accessories. First one here are Day and Night Reversible Deluxe City Rooftop tile sets. which are tile sets. You can flip them over to get day or nighttime, and you can put them together to create rooftops. If you want to have your roofs in 3D, there's real 3D fantasy scenery, which you can print and plug together, and which helps you to build complete houses. And there's Circle of Chaos, and with these old-timer metal miniatures, we begin the miniature category of today's preview. These are, as you can see, fantasy miniatures, and I think they're very unique in style. For example, this Guardian with the very long neck. So definitely have a look if you want to get some more miniatures that aren't that common. Speaking of uncommon miniatures, Ekmal sword miniatures also are of a kind I haven't seen that often, and for me they seem to be more comic-like, and because miniatures usually are small, I actually like the comic-like style because it makes it easier to see and recognize from a distance. Also, a lot of detail that looks very, very promising. Next are the Unrenaissance miniatures, which are undead miniatures with like a medieval fantasy Renaissance theme. And have a look if you're interested. One campaign I'd like to especially give some call out for here is Heroines and Sensible Shoes, which is a collection of female miniatures in armor that makes sense. Because, let's be honest guys, it might be nice from time to time to look at these chainmail bikinis, but that's not armor, that's eye candy. And these miniatures are built in a way that it makes actually sense, and like the weapons are not directed towards open skin, and I don't want to rant about that now, but most likely you know about this already. These miniatures look really cool, and they look a lot more realistic than most other female miniatures I've seen up to this point. Lastly, let's have a look at dice, and there's 2 dice this time, so not that much. Look at one. There's Have a Nice dice with smiley faces, and the other one are these very nice looking cast metal gaming dice, which don't only come as D6 as shown in the hero image, but also as a lot of different kind of dice, including Fudge series. So if you're interested in dice and have some money to spare on metal, these might be for you. So that was the preview for the February 2016, and as you might have noticed, it's the first time that I've done this in English. I will do the other ones from now on also in English, and you can look forward to get these most likely at the end of every month. I skipped the last one for January because honestly it was New Year's Eve and I didn't want to spend my time recording video on New Year's Eve, but for the next month I'll most likely record them again. So feel free to subscribe if you're interested in these, and there will also be more English speaking RPG playthroughs or Let's Plays, so have a look for them, and see you then. I'm Nick-Nack.